Hello and welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. My name is James Petham and today I'm joined by Ewan Webster, President, CEO and Director of Thesis Gold. They trade on the venture exchange under the ticker TAU. Ewan, it's great to see you today.
Hi James, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's kick things off with a quick elevator pitch. Can you give us an overview of Thesis?
Sure. Thesis Gold is an advanced stage exploration transition into development company focused on our Lawyers Ranch epithermal gold silver project and a road accessible part of north central British Columbia in what is the historic Tudeghan district. It's a brownfield development. It was a past producer in the late 80s, early 90s, and we have basically grown what was a historical resource of about 100,000 ounces through to 4.7 million ounces just recently announced, with the potential to do a lot more, I think. No doubt we'll get into some of those details here today.
Yeah, so you've announced this new global resource covering the Lawyer and the Ranch projects. Can you give us maybe an overview of the work that went into that and what that new resource means for the company?
Yeah, I mean, that has evolved over the course of about 6 years. We acquired the Lawyers project in 2018, and at the time had a small resource really kind of centered around what was the historical underground operation there. It was about 100,000 ounces. And about between the Lawyers project and the Ranch project, I think there's about 350,000 meters of drilling or thereabouts that has gone into defining this new resource of 4.7 million ounces. 4 million ounces of that is in the measured and indicated category, and 700,000 ounces inferred. So there's a lot of confidence in this resource. The nice thing is as well, we don't have to go back and do a big infill drill program to upgrade those ounces to measured and indicated as we move on to future engineering studies. And I think there's a few other things in the resource that maybe don't jump out straight away in reading the press release or looking at the website. One of those would be that it is a gold silver project. About a quarter of the value of that is in silver, and that translates to basically 92 million ounces of silver, which even as a standalone silver project, I mean, that's pretty impressive, and that gives us a lot of flexibility moving forward in terms of like project finance and for potential streams, etc.
No.
The other second thing would be that the resource is split into open pit and underground potential, and the underground is really reflected as open out of pit ounces, and it Lawyers it's about 260,000 ounces, but that's really not that reflective of what the underground potential is here. I think you're going to see that number grow significantly in the forthcoming PEA. Looking at trade-off studies, I think the base of those pits are going to come up quite a ways. That number is going to grow, and the grade should improve as well. The other, and probably the last point for the resource is that recoveries for gold and silver are 90 to 92%, and for which is kind of in line with expectations. But the silver recoveries had come up to 88%, which is a big jump from previous reported recoveries on the Lawyers project. So that's fantastic.
Great. Well, let's talk about that pending PEA. Can you tell us about the work that's gone into that? When can we expect the PEA to be published, and what can we expect as the company passes this milestone?
Yeah, a huge milestone for the company, and so we put out an open pit only PEA in August 2022, just looking at the Lawyers project. And what we've really completed from that point is a significant drill program last year that focused on defining what will be a mineable underground resource at Lawyers, and also continuing to delineate near surface higher grade mineralization on the Ranch project to the north. So the first step of that really was the new resource, and I think we've increased those ounces, which is great. I think we've managed to do a good job of defining that high grade underground mineable resource that should have a direct impact on the economics of the project. And the next step was really the new updated metallurgical work. I mean, it was really one of the questions we got a lot was, well, Lawyers is a low sulfidation epithermal system, Ranch is a high sulfidation epithermal system. Those things necessarily don't go together very well. I think what we've managed to demonstrate with the results recently is that not only do they go together very well, but the recoveries are fantastic. We can potentially produce a very marketable con with gold grades in excess of 160 grams per ton. So that is very positive. It gives us a lot of flexibility in the flow sheet. So between the resource, the new metallurgical work, that is really what's feeding into this forthcoming PEA that is scheduled for Q3 this year. So I think that will be transformative for the project and the company, certainly improving on what is already very solid economics in the previous PEA that was purely looking at an open pit only scenario.
Great, thank you for clarifying on that. You touched on the metallurgical program that you announced the results of recently. Can you give us a bit more detail on that? What exactly did you see, and what was the overall program look like?
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, really, one of the questions we got a lot was, how do you take these two projects and make that work under one kind of centralized milling facility, providing feed from multiple different projects? And to address that, we took a number of different composite samples, came up with 3 master samples across both projects, looking at not only open pit material, but underground material across both projects. And then did a pretty comprehensive testing lock cycle, looking at gravity, flotation, cyanidation, and out of that we produced fantastic recoveries, very marketable con, gold recoveries 95% on average, silver 92%. So excellent recoveries, marketable con, a lot of flexibility in the flow sheet. Really the distribution, the split between doré and a con, that'll really come out of the PEA, and that'll dictate what that looks like. But from my perspective, I think you're going to see a lot more doré than you will con. But either way, very positive results.
Great, thank you for that summary. Just looking ahead, beyond the PEA, are there any other kind of catalysts in store this year? What else can investors expect in terms of updates?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think what's coming near term, we will probably announce what the summer program is going to look like for this year, the work that's ongoing for the remainder of 2024, and then what 2025 is going to look like. I won't touch too much on the exploration programs for this year, but baseline work is ongoing across the projects. We're nearing completion of what is a very capital intensive phase of the development of the project, which is fantastic. There'll be ongoing engineering and hydrogeological work across both projects as well. And really most of that's going to be focused at Ranch, to be honest, to catch up with lawyers, and that puts us in a fantastic position for feasibility level engineering work on the projects. And there'll be drill results through the fall that will feed into the drill results, the metallurgical work, the baseline studies, beginning the EA process next year, in addition to, as I said, to pre-feasibility level engineering work as we move through 2025.
Yeah, it's certainly a very exciting time for the company, as you transition, as you mentioned, from exploration through to development with looking ahead towards eventual production. Can you tell us what sets Thesis apart from your peers? There's plenty of other precious metals companies in Canada and even in British Columbia. Why should people be paying attention specifically to Thesis Gold?
I think Thesis, given its location in British Columbia, British Columbia is a fantastic jurisdiction. It's Newmont came out recently and said, we love all our assets in British Columbia. We're going to stay there for decades. And fantastic. I completely agree with that. It's a very stable jurisdiction, and I think we're going to see more mid-tiers and majors moving in. On top of that, where we're located in British Columbia, as I said earlier, it's a brownfield development site. The Toodoggone saw a lot of work historically. We've been actively upgrading the infrastructure in that area over the last few years as well. So it's completely road accessible. You can operate year round. It's logistically very simple. In addition to that, we don't have a lot of the other topographic constraints that coastal British Columbia does. We have kind of rolling hills and flat plateaus, so very little vegetation. Again, logistically simple to operate year round and construct and build what will be the future mine. We also get a fraction of the snowpack that they do in the coast. So a couple 100 kilometers inland means that we get 3 feet of snow a year rather than 30 to 50 feet of snow a year. So all of these things really going for the project. But on top of that, I think arguably the real upside here is that relative to our peer group, we're very undervalued. And I think the PEA, when it comes out in Q3, is really going to demonstrate that we're one of the top development stories in North America. And honestly as well, to me, it's very much a starting point as well. I mean, I said this earlier with the resource of 4.7 million ounces, there is a lot of potential for growth there. The same with the PEA. When we put out the PEA, arguably that is often the best and most optimistic engineering scenario that you would get from a project, but we still have so much potential for growth and addition of ounces that there's future room to optimize that going forwards. So great project, a ton of upside in a very favorable jurisdiction.
Well, Ewan, looking forward to hearing more from Thesis throughout the year. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, thank you, James.